about the development. We left it off where you were developing and, as you said, food desert areas and bringing in buildings. And so why don't we take it from there and share with the folks?
Yes, like I said, I've done development work in the city of Fresno. Built shopping centers that I currently own, and I don't operate the restaurants or anything like that, but I do own the shopping centers, and we're just constantly building. If you look at a couple of our projects, stuff on Clinton and Weber, we're building out that. Just built the Wells Fargo Bank. That's going to be opening very soon. So now we have a bank, we have a grocery store over there. So now the people in that neighborhood, they don't have to travel very far to get groceries or our bank. So that's so key.
So, but you became a regular at the council meetings, and that meant that you were working directly with the planners, or does that work? Kind of give us a little.
Well, it all depends. Sometimes they were asking me about the homeless stuff and put together a 10-year plan for the homelessness. So I sat on some of the boards trying to help them, guide them through that process. As far as being at the city council, sometimes I'm there depending on projects. It could be my project, it could be someone else's projects. It could be watching how they vote on certain projects, watching how they change the general plan. So all of these things are very important as far as the private business sector to knowing what the government is doing. So if you're not there, you're never going to know what they're doing. So sometimes you have to be there, especially when they're making these big decisions that's going to affect us all. Sometimes I think some of the decisions they make, I don't think they see the unintended consequences. Like they're not asking the business people, and they're just making decisions based on their political, either the people that's supporting them, or they just making some decisions just based on what they think is right for the people, instead of coming and asking the people what's right.
So you want to encourage those business people to show up?
I think everyone should be showing up to city councils, especially to understand what they're doing with your money. There's a lot of money that is being spent out that I know you guys would not agree with. But if you're not there, you're not going to know what's going on. Like they said, they're always baking cakes or baking biscuits in the background. What they're doing is they're taking your taxpayer dollars and they're baking their cakes that's going to help them get to their next job. If we as the people are not there, we're doing a disservice to ourselves. So you need to be there and watch the decisions that these people are making, so you can decide if they are really supporting you or they're supporting themselves.
Okay, that's a good nugget for everybody to really focus on, because we need to really demand them to put. I loved it during the pandemic because they were rolling the city hall meetings on our Facebooks.
Right.
We had a choice. We could tune in or not.
Right.
And that is really the purpose of CMAQ. They're a totally government provision. So I think we the people need to start putting them, how do they say it, feet to the fire or something like that.
They just got to be more transparent, and I don't believe they are. And like you said, after the pandemic, people stopped watching them. So if you stop watching them and all of a sudden they're quiet, how can you have 7 different council members that are supporting their own districts, and there's no fighting going on at all? Come on. That means they're baking the cake together. Hey, you get a little bit, okay?
Okay, well, no, I get it.
Who's winning?
Right.
That happens?
But the first thing is that we need to make them, push them to put it back on the Facebook so we have choices. That's a first step, because I know all of us are very busy, and if we have recorders at home, at least we could be informed and have it on our recorders so that we could run it any time of the day. And that is really how it should be with all these electronics. That should be shared.
Right, it should be. And some of the council members, they do put it on their Facebook. So we have to be vigilant to go and check it out too, but I know we can become busy, but it's sad because we get so busy and then we get upset that they made decisions without us saying anything.
Yeah, but sometimes they themselves chase and try to intimidate people to not even come down there. And I'm not quite sure why that is in that city council area, because I've been to other city councils. sorry. I lived in Orange County, remember that. Orange County, San Diego, LA, you know, like that place that just burned. Oh, I lived in Redondo Beach. And those places, I did the same thing that I'm doing here. Maybe not filming, but I did go to city council meetings if there was something interesting to me, and participated and got to meet those city folks just like I am doing here. Nothing is different. But the difference that I see here is exactly that.
Yeah, and some of them don't like to be held accountable for their actions. So myself or you go up there and speak on it and trying to hold them accountable, what they do is retaliate. Instead of them listening to the people, they don't. So it's very unfortunate. I mean, you would want your council member, your mayor, your city manager to listen. I mean, especially if we're the ones paying their bills. We are the taxpayers that are paying their bills, but they don't treat us like that. They talk down on us, and it's not right.
No, it's not right. And
we
they
need to take those seats. We, the people, need to start being more power. We have more power than the government, but we're not speaking out on it.
Well, I think our population has been doused a bit in doing that, because growing up, we used to be invited. We were there. And that was, of course, 1670 before I left. So it has changed substantially right away. It was something that I noticed. It wasn't like it was an open door policy. You're welcome to come because you're a citizen. And so that, I think us as the population here in Fresno County need to start standing up and say, we need more information. And you said that magic word, transparency. Because all of our money is being spent on things and projects that really aren't significant. I think school board right now is spending, they said want to spend $1 million on training their board, and the board is leaving. Hello, why? Are you giving them training, free training that they could use after they've done their 2 years or 3 years on the board? That's ridiculous. That's a terrible investment. And these children don't have books. They aren't equipped to compete with even Orange County, LA County, or San Francisco. So yes, we need to push that button.
Yeah, you're right. Like you said, I didn't know anything about that, right? We elect you in office, now we got to train you while you're there. I mean, come on. That kind of work will never happen in the private sector. If I got $1 million, I got to be creative, innovative with it, to the point like it's going to bring back more money for our citizens. But that just money just gone wasted, gone. And like you said, that could be buying these books. That could be teaching these mentors to get out there and help some of these kids that are struggling. Or it could be doing so many things.
Oh, one of the biggest things in Fresno is having phone connections.
Right. You know, it's stuff like that is just wasteful spending. And I see it when I look at some of these councilmen, some of them never had a job before. So how are you gonna run a business? And people go, well, government's not business. Well, if you're taking my money as a taxpayer, I want you to be operating it like a business. Otherwise, you go keep taxing me. And that's not unfair to the citizens. So if you got $1 million, invest it correctly so you don't have to come back and re-tax us.
So you may have conveyed this idea to some of the people there at the council?
Oh, they would never listen to me on that.
Why do you say that?
They're not business-like. They're not business-oriented. You know, so me telling them that, hey, you gotta sometimes treat it partially like a business. Treat this money like it's yours. I mean, the last 5 years, I think the city received over $400 million for housing.
Get out of
Nobody's
here.
talking about that. Where's that money spent? Have you seen the housing that's going on here?
There's no $400 million, billion or million?
Million.
There's no housing here like
The last
that.
5 years, they got over $400-some million from the state.
What they do with it?
That's what I'm asking you. That's what
I
mean.
have no
It'd be
clue.
nice to be transparent about it. It would be nice that if someone like myself was in office and had $400 million for housing, oh my God, you would have saw cranes building all over the place.
Right.
But where did that money go? And why are we in a $20 million deficit if you had that type of money? That's just one pot. Nobody's talking about this other pot of money where we received over $200 and something million in a lawsuit because of the water was poisoned. Where's that money? Did you fix the wells?
That's a
Why
good
nobody's
question.
talking about that? So there's a lot of money that's going to our government, our local government, and we don't know where it's at.
And people are suffering.
People are suffering, but that money is wandering somewhere. It's out there. Maybe Fresno needs Doge here.
I think so. I've been begging. Well, and then this other project that they're doing, they say in southeast Fresno, that's going to become. Yes. What about that?
Well, it's very difficult. I haven't dug into it as much as I would like to, but I don't know where they're going to get their money when they're expanding all the way out there. Their tax dollars, who's worried about the fire? What about police? You're going to be stretching your services.
Yeah, but developers, I used to date a developer way back.
Go ahead.
And he said to me, this is from the horse's mouth, I guess you say. He says, well, when we make a deal, generally we're looking at so many acreages. And so what we do in Southern California, they call it Melrose. Yes. And so we get that development, we make a promise to the city, we're gonna put strip malls so that people can walk or go where they need to go to get their groceries, got the clinics, we pave the roads, we bring in enough money so that you can have a fire station, a police station, and those emergency people that you need, because all of that pertains to a living area.
But who's footing the bill?
The developer. That's what he was saying, that they
Well, sometimes the developer does.
Okay.
And I've been watching where we as a citizens is footing some of the bill.
And that's not exactly how it's supposed to be, is it?
And in my opinion, I think whenever you annex a piece of land into your city, you got to make sure when you're annexing, you have enough money to pay for the roads, the curbs, the gutters, and all that for the fire department. You have to make sure of that as a city. If you don't, then don't annex it in.
And we're not doing that.
I honestly don't know. I don't dig that deep into it, but I'm watching it and I'm like, where y'all gonna get this extra money from? Developer ain't gonna be paying for these roads. They're not paying for it. So you got a deficit, but then you want to pay for roads and curbs and gutter that you don't have money for? Where's it gonna come from? Are you gonna tax the citizens? I don't know that answer, right? If I was to take the time to go study it, then I could probably come back and go, look, this ain't gonna work or this will work, right? But we gotta continue development, whether we like it or not.
Well,
we just
of
gotta
course.
be a little bit smarter how we develop. The problem with Fresno is most developers do not want to develop here. But if you watch what's going on around Fresno,
you know why?
look at Madera.
I just found out the other day.
Yes.
They had a project management agreement. The developers don't want to build here because right after Cesar Chavez inked his name on those unions, back in the back, 5 people, I have to investigate this, it's research work on me, trotted down to Washington and they banned development here. They banned those contractors to come. The citizens are supposed to be building their own cities, and the developers come from the cities that they live in. And that's not what happens here, and you just touched that point.
Well, I can tell you just from my experience what I'm watching. I'm watching people are afraid to develop here. If you're not a friend of the power to be here, do not develop here. So if you watch how Madera is growing, right? You see it, they're growing. It's because we stopped growing. It's so hard to do a project here. I mean, it took me almost a year, almost 2 years, just to get through. I have a 7-acre parcel, just to get through planning. A year and a half, close to 2 years.
And did you get a lot of pushback from them?
Pushback and 3 different planners that people quit. They make you start all over. They have a plan. They have something called a faster system. It is the slowest system ever. They need to change the name. But if they don't like you, they're going to stall every project you have, which is why there's no development here.
But that's costing the taxpayer.
It does, because they're going to tax you more because we're not building. But if you watch around, you see Clovis' building going great, Madera's building going great. But what people don't realize is they have a great city manager, both of them, and they both were from Fresno. The city manager in Clovis was from Fresno, was in our planning department, so was Madera. So we had great people here.
What's the problem with the city manager here?
I don't want to get into that yet, but
well, no,
I will tell you.
No,
there's problems.
There is problems because I was out in the North 40, and one of the fellows I met, I'm going to try to bring him in.
Yes.
He says, your city manager is horrible. She's the worst city manager around. And I said, really? I said, how do you know that? He says, that's all I ever did. Work with city managers and help them get their jobs. So he knows that very well.
Right, and I'm not going to talk, well, I would love to talk about some people, but because I'm in the lawsuit, I'm not going to go there. But I will tell you, your city manager should never be political.
That's right.
They should never be, it should only be about the numbers. And it should never be about, if you do this, I'm coming after you. You should never have retaliatory city manager. And it's sad.
That's bad behavior.
I've seen a lot of city managers here. I've seen some great ones. Bruce Rudd was incredible. Andy Souza was great. They had a guy named Mark was really good.
Because you've been through four mayors or 5?
I've been there since the 80s, but I try to stay away from the politics.
No, I understand that, but I'm just in my mind so that people can get a gear of what
I didn't know
we're
how
at
great
with
they
this.
were until you get bad ones. I can say that.
Okay,
Good.
good.
It's just really sad when if you have to do a report card on some of our city managers, and then you go, wait a second, this is what got me, and it should have got everyone. You just put out there that we are in a $20 million deficit. But on the other side, you just gave yourself a raise. What is that? So you go cut services for us, but you go give yourself a raise. And nobody's arguing or yelling about that? To me, that's bad business. If I can't
How are you going to
balance
flip the
my
bill?
budget, but I didn't get a raise, and nobody's up in arms. I don't understand it. Me, if I'm the city manager and I don't balance my budget or and we're in a deficit, the last thing I'm going to do is be asking for a raise. What I'm going to be doing is going, hey, we need to buckle down.
Right.
We can't be hiring. We got to go find other ways to get money in
Revenue.
here. Revenue. And nobody in this city is going to get a raise right now.
Oh my
But
goodness.
as Fresno is always they always want a participation trophy. In sports, just because you show up don't mean you get an award.
No, you have
So
to
just
do the
because
work.
you're the city council member or just because you're the city manager doesn't mean you get a raise just because you're there. And that's what they do. They go, well, around other countries, this is what people get for a city of this size. They go, yeah, but look at the work you're doing.
Yeah.
I've seen your who was it? The police chief get fired? Oh, you hired him. City manager, you hired him, got fired. I've seen your all the people that was in your audit team, your controller, get fired, right? So you tell me the people that does all the audits and does the control, he was sending out money to where? Some scammers, 500, 600,000 out here. Then I see you give money to Bitwise that went under. These are all these things. There's nobody's questioning why. How many lawsuits have been
That's
filed?
all bad decisions.
All bad decisions, but you still give a participation trophy to the city manager, giving them a raise. Wait a second, these are all your decisions. These are the stuff that you were in charge of. So, and we're giving a raise to that.
So it sounds like us, the citizens, the taxpayer, need to send a report card to them.
Yes.
So they have to answer to XYZ and dollars and cents.
And we should be the one to be choosing if you get a raise or not.
But they don't put that to a vote, do they? Or a request?
The council votes on it.
Yeah, but each of our districts should be having input to that vote. No?
I think every citizen should have some kind of way that we can all say, you get a raise and you don't. I mean, you taking our taxpayer money, giving yourself a raise for doing bad work. And think about it. It's gonna be tough for the city council members, in my opinion, if someone controls all the money and they ask for a raise. If you say no, guess what? They go, I'm not giving you no money. That's what could be going on. I'm not saying it is, but I'm like, you guys are watching. We're all watching how many times the city of Fresno has failed an audit. We're watching. They only put it out there one day in the paper, but nobody's tracking it. Look how many audits they have failed.
How many?
Well, I know they failed their parking audit. I know they failed. There's so many different audits that they have failed. I mean, you could just Google it and find them.
Oh, wow.
But the way they said, oh, we didn't really fail it. We just got our controls are bad. Our controls are this. Our controls are that. It's stuff like that. But you can Google it. It's multiples.
They're not really giving you the full disclosure from A to Z.
And they had someone that was collecting money from the meters with his grocery bag. He'll put all the money in there and all his grocery bags all around town. Then he'll take it to the bank and then say what's in there. There's no check and balance on that. But then they call and complain about everybody else's checks and balance. When these people are getting 6 figures, 150,000, 180,000 a year or more, with no check and balance.
No.
But then they go after a nonprofit where these kids are getting $15 an hour and go, well, you guys don't have no control over them. You have no control. Well, they're part-time. They're not going to be perfect.
Oh, and then the other thing I noticed is the double dipping. Like the Beautify Fresno, we already have taxpayer money set aside to clean up our city. But no, we got to have a beautiful, whatever, Beautify Fresno. And then I heard on the backside that city council people are using as write-off. How does that work?
Well, it's pretty, I don't know exactly that project, but I will tell you they get a lot of money from the state. And so for whatever, like for instance, example, they'll get like $50 million, right, to do a project or whatever from the state. Mm-hmm. They take 10 to 15% off that right off the top for themselves. They put that in there, either the general fund or whatever, but they call, oh, this is us monitoring this grant or whatever. So that's money that goes directly to them.
Is that legal?
Well, somebody has to monitor the grant, right? So I'm saying there's a lot of money coming down that the city cuts and takes.
We used to have a department that monitored the grants in the 70s.
Yeah.
I know only that because I used to have a nonprofit organization and we had the little yellow card. Every quarter I had to do my accounting and send in my copies to show the proof downtown. This is how much I collected on my nonprofit.
Right.
And then that's of course back in the day, every corporation used to put their profile and what accountability right on the front page of their brochures.
Right.
They don't do that anymore.
No.
Okay.
Like you said, if I don't give you information, I don't have to be accountable.
Not cool.
Right? So we have to, as citizens, we have to start digging a little bit deeper and see what they're, as citizens, we have to dig a little bit deeper. Sometimes they'll put something out on the paper or stuff, that information is there. We just got to keep tracking it, but we don't. We get too busy and they know it, and they know we're not reading. Mm-hmm. So the people that are yelling the most, like they're such a small group, they don't listen to you. What they do is they retaliate against you, which is pretty sad.
Yeah, we're all equal, we're all citizens, no matter where you came from, what you look like, even if you're upside down and purple hair. We're tax-paying citizens, period.
We need to speak out more. We really need to.
Do you hear him?
We need to speak out more.
Someone that's taking accounting of them.
I would love to see what they're doing with our parks money. I mean,
that would right. Did they give you any information?
Not only did Granite Park not get money, now they're holding back the money that they're supposed to be giving us. So that's how sad it is.
Wow, that's crazy.
But like I said, there's no accountability of it, right? So nobody knows. If you ask them, well, how much money are you spending on lawsuits going after Granite Park, and why you won't just give the money to the park instead of to the attorneys? So are you saying that you want kids to be playing in the parks, but you're not going to fund it? Or are you saying that you really don't care about the kids? That's the way I look at it. You don't care about the kids.
That's what it sounds
You'd
like.
rather take a shotgun and blow off your knees despite me instead of doing the right thing.
Right.
Pretty sad.
Well, let's back up one second.
Go ahead.
Through all this, you met people on the way, and you got into this Granite Park. How did you acquire that, or how did that come together?
I will tell you, I came on with Central Valley Community Sports Foundation to help them. They called me to help them with the ice skating rink. They didn't have Granite Park. So I came on as a board member to help them clean up the books over there at the ice skating rink.
What was the name of it?
It's Gateway Ice Center.
Gateway Ice.
Yeah, so Gateway Ice Center was getting ready to get closed down because they didn't have any funds. And so TJ Cox at the time was the president of Central Valley Community Sports Foundation. So they asked me to come in as a board member to help them clean up some of their stuff. And so I went in there to help them clean up some of their stuff and just to keep the kids playing in hockey and sports and all that stuff. And then they made me the president. They liked some of the ideas.
The president
of Central Valley Community Sports Foundation.
Oh.
And when I became president, the city was going through some issues financially with parks. They were getting rid of all their parks. They were having to adopt the park programs where the citizens will have to come in and take over some of the parks. So they asked me to help them out. So what I did is I was calling some of my friends from other areas to go, hey, can you come down here and take over some of these parks? So I called the people from Big Lake Dreams, brought them down here and talked to the city council, and the city council did not want them to take over Granite Park. At the time, Granite Park been with the city for 7 years and had been boarded up. Trees died, it's just been just a weed patch.
It was a mess.
It was a mess for like 7 years, 8 years the city had it.
I would say that's called an abandoned
And
building.
it was really bad. And but I didn't want to take over that park.
Mm-hmm.
But they kept turning everybody down. And then,
Well, you know what? We're running out of time.
okay, no problem.
So how about we just come back and revisit this and get deeper into this situation, because this sounds interesting. To volunteer at the Brea, for the city of Brea, and they had a whole department. And we'll get into the meaty part of what's going on with Terance Frazier. Thanks for watching.